I'm so excited today to have Jaspreet Singh hailing from Detroit, right?
That's right.
Yeah, look, man, I've been seeing a lot of your videos on YouTube. Your full macro, lengthy videos on YouTube, as well as your clips and the micro content that you post on Instagram. Huge following on YouTube, guys. If you're watching or listening to this and you have not seen Jaspreet Singh or Minority Mindset, do yourself a favor, go search that on YouTube right now and on Instagram, right away after this is done. Go listen and watch, and we'll make sure we'll give out all the other handles as well. But Jaspreet, man, thank you for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here, man. I'm excited to do this.
Awesome. Secondly, I'm a comic book fan myself, and so I like to talk about origin stories a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about you first, like your origin story, and then let's get into Minority Mindset, and then we'll talk about everything you guys do as well.
Sure. So my family's from a state in India called Punjab, and they immigrated here to America for the typical better life. And so growing up, I had a pretty traditional Indian upbringing. It was me, my parents, my grandparents, and I was always told, if you want to be successful, you need to become a doctor. You need to study hard in school and become a doctor. And I saw my parents work all the time. When you're an immigrant in a new country, you gotta work. You don't really have the opportunity to complain or take days off. So I was like, I want something better for my family, my parents. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll study hard in school. I'll become a doctor. But always in the back of my mind, I was always kind of an entrepreneur. Like when I was in elementary school, I started a paper route, making 7 cents a house, throwing papers at people's houses.
I did the same, man. I love that story. I think luckily I was making more than 7 cents, but not a lot more than that. But I love the paper route story, right? Because, you got to knock on doors, you got to deliver paper, you got to put the flyers together, you got to do all that. The hustle and the grind starts in those type of jobs. So I love that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I went to school and my parents always like, just focus on studying. And I was like, okay. And then when I went to high school, I used to play this drum called dhol. It's a Punjabi drum.
One of my favorite sounds, my man.
Yeah. So I played that at my uncle's wedding, and the DJ there, I was like 13 at the time.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, do you want to make some money playing their dhol? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, why don't you work with me and you can start working at weddings?
Right.
I'm like, okay. So I started making like $100, $150 as like a 13, 14-year-old playing their dhol at weddings. And now I became friends with all these DJs. Yeah. And then we had this idea to start hosting teen parties for kids in my high school. So I was like 16. Now I started hosting teen parties. And all of a sudden now I'm starting to make a little bit of money. And I'm like, wow, I'm making money and I'm not a doctor. I don't have a degree. And so now my mind's starting to open up and think in a way that I never thought was possible, because with the way I grew up, I was assumed that you needed a degree and you needed to be a doctor to make good money.
Doctor, lawyer, or engineer, right?
Yeah, doctor, lawyer, engineer. It's the trio.
Yeah.
So, I go to college, same thing. I, went down the pre-med route for a little while. I continued doing my event planning business. I went from hosting parties to concerts to shows. And I was never into partying, which is the funny thing. I never drank. I never got into the party scene. I just did it because that was the hustle that I knew. I knew the people in the business. I knew how the business worked. So I did it. And when I was 19, I had a little bit of money saved up. And I was studying for my MCAT, which is a test you take here in America to get into medical school. It's a brutal test. And I was going miserable studying for it. I was in the library all day, every day. And every break, I would just go onto the financial news websites just to see what's happening in the world. And I started reading financial books. And every book said that wealthy people invest in real estate. I don't know what that meant. Nobody in my family was a real estate investor or an investor or anything. And I'm on these news websites saying, real estate has hit rock bottom, because this is right after the financial crash. Okay. And so I was just like, what if I buy real estate? Because all these wealthy people do it in all these books. But I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, I want to invest in real estate. My dad's like, you're stupid. Just go become a doctor, focus on, medicine. Yeah. Well, I kind of decided to do it anyways. And I took my MCAT on August 21st. And on August 22nd, it might be 20th and 21st, but one day later, I closed on my first real estate property when I was 19. And so that was when my mind and world really opened up, because now all of a sudden I owned something that started paying me. It was like $600 in rent that I was charging, and I ended up making like 150 or 200 bucks a month in profit from this property. And now my world was like blown, because I was like, holy cow, I own an investment which is paying me, and I don't got to physically like host an event or do something, and I'm making money. So this was crazy to me because I'd never experienced something like this before. So that kind of really was that determining factor that, okay, I need to learn more about how money works. I need to learn more about entrepreneurship and business, because I really liked entrepreneurship. Just the fact of like creating something. You know, some people just have that bug where you have to be a creator. You just can't follow rules and, you know, work for someone else and do all that. So, you know, I knew that was me, and I really enjoyed learning about money. So that was that kind of fueling fire, where then I went all into real estate. I started doing a bunch of things. I got into wholesaling. I did more investing. I did a bunch of things in real estate. And then I started other businesses because, you know, I didn't have a mentor or real guidance. I read a lot of books, but, you know, I got into e-commerce. I created my own product. I created my own SOC technology, and I was trying to license that, and then did a bunch of things, and things started to grow. And I ended up going to law school because, you know, you have to do something, medicine. But the advantage of this was I could run my business in addition to going to school. So I went to law school, and I was running a SOC business. And that was also when I started Minority Mindset, because when I was doing this SOC business, I ended up getting scammed by a fake marketing company. This company came to me and they were saying, hey, we can help take your sales to the next level. It's guaranteed money back, no worries. And I was a little skeptical at the time, but, you know, this money back guarantee was really appealing. So I was like, okay, you know, let's try it. And I gave them a bunch of our marketing budget, and they took the money and ran. I never heard from them again.
Sure.
And at that point I was like, okay, now what do I do? So, you know, an entrepreneur is always thinking of, okay, how do I turn problems into profits or opportunities? So I was like, okay, well, why don't I just go online and teach a class on how to launch a business without getting screwed over? So I went on to Udemy and I created like a $7 class or something on how to do this. And I called this Minority Mindset because it was the mindset of thinking different, you know, being an entrepreneur. And it was all around just how to launch a business, how to start a business and not get screwed over the way that I did.
Right.
You know, and with the goal of trying to help entrepreneurs. And that came onto Instagram because people were like, hey, this is really cool. Can you create social media? So I got onto Instagram as Minority Mindset, and I started posting things on Instagram. And then people were like, hey, can you start a blog? And I hate writing. Like, I almost failed English in middle school. I was never good at English or writing. So I was like, no, I can't start a blog, but I can talk. So I'll start a YouTube channel.
Right.
And so that's honestly how it started. So I started making videos on YouTube about whatever came to my mind regarding entrepreneurship and money management. And I never really thought of it as a business at the time.
Okay.
It was just something I was doing because I hated, you know, the fact that honest entrepreneurs out there were getting screwed over by people who, you know, were just trying to make quick money. And then I hit a crossing point where my sock business, our patent was denied. So I had to decide if I wanted to go into the sock business or pursue Minority Mindset, which wasn't profitable at the time. And I was like, you know, socks are cool, but I don't love the product. I love the process, but not really the product. But Minority Mindset, I love the product. I mean, I was seeing the impact you were making on people. I was getting messages, you know, at that time we weren't that big. So maybe once a week of people saying things like, hey, Jaspreet, man, you're really changing my life. You really helped me turn my finances around. And that made me feel so good on the inside. And I was like, you know what? I'll figure it out. I'll go into Minority Mindset. So then I dove into Minority Mindset. You know, we went all in onto YouTube, Instagram. Then we slowly evolved from like financial education on these platforms to also financial news. Now we are a daily financial newsletter where we first break down the top finance and business news delivered to your inbox, but we also show you how this news affects your wallet. And this newsletter is completely free.